start this out by saying this is not a political video, but some of you will take it as such, and I apologize in advance. But we got to talk about some things. What does the presidential election mean for Medicare agents far and wide? If you're not aware, President Donald Trump has been reelected as the 47th president of the United States of America. He will take office in 2025, and this has a domino effect impact on the Medicare industry and Medicare agents as a whole. And we're going to talk about exactly how and what we believe this means for the future of the business. Let's rewind back to 2021. The Biden administration appoints a new CMS commissioner. Now, for those of you that aren't aware, the CMS commissioner, the Centers for Medicare and Medicaid Services commissioner, is an appointed position by the President of the United States. So they appoint a new CMS commissioner and takes office in 2021 by the name of Chiquita Brooks LaShore, okay? Now, shortly thereafter that Miss Brooks LaShore takes office as the CMS commissioner, we start seeing a slew of new red tape and regulations kind of encompass all over the industry and being put over Medicare agencies, Medicare agents, and making it much harder to do business. Now, for those of you that are unsure of my positions on this, I have said from the beginning that regulation in theory is not a bad thing in general. Regulation is designed to protect customers, consumers, and in this case, Medicare beneficiaries. But the problem is, anytime you have government bureaucrats that really just are so out of touch with what's really going on in our industry that they just don't know what's going on, they're the worst people to possibly come up with solutions in the form of regulation. And we saw that in full effect during the Biden administration. So starting 2022, we start getting a yearly final rule that is put into effect that adds more and more and more layers each year to the regulation and the rules we have to follow as Medicare agents, most of which do very little, if anything, to protect Medicare beneficiaries. Just make it harder for the Medicare beneficiary to do business and make it harder for insurance agents that are just trying to do things the right way stand out, right? So 2022, we start seeing this first of in a slew of yearly final rules, okay? So 2022, we get the first final rule. This is the one that had to do with a multitude of different things, but the one that most people noted it as is the call recording rule. Essentially what it said was all calls with any Medicare beneficiary has to be recorded and stored for at least 10 years. Now, if you're not familiar, our industry is full of people that do business in a very simplified and really archaic way, right? They might work from their homes, might have a home office, they drive to all their appointments, they take a lot of calls on their cell phone while they're on the go. So this was more of a challenge than you might think for the individual independent agent, which makes up a large majority of people that are licensed independent Medicare insurance specialized focused agents, okay? 2023. We get another final rule. This one brings back the 48-hour scope of appointment rule that the Trump administration took away during their administration, right? So the 48-hour scope of appointment rule was in effect when Trump goes into office the first time. His administration pulls back a slew of different rules and regulations under the CMS commissioner that they appointed and the leadership that they appointed. And one of those rules and regulations that they chose to pull back on was the 48-hour scope of appointment rule. The 48-hour scope of appointment rule, you've heard it here first, is the dumbest rule that has ever been passed by any government official ever. Helps no one. Absolutely not. It makes absolutely no sense. In this country, you can buy anything you want. A house, a car, a security, and you don't have to wait 48 hours, but to buy a Medicare Advantage plan or a Part D prescription drug plan, you do, unless you fall under certain criterias in certain situations, right? 48-hour scope of appointment rule, right, comes back in the 2023 final rule. Amongst other things, right? They also do clarify the call recording rules that says it only applies to sales calls, but they keep rolling out more and more and more rules. Rules that impact events, rules that impact marketing. They bring out the disclaimer rule. You know, we do not represent every Medicare plan in your area. For a full list of Medicare plans, please call 1-800-MEDICARE rule, amongst other things. 2024, this year, they come out with the final rule of all final rules that essentially is long, complicated, vague, unclear, that is targeting agent administrative payments, that it's unclear if it's talking about overrides for FMOs. It's unclear how FMOs are going to function. And it bleeds on and on and on and on into the year. Integrity and AmeriLife, and amongst others, end up suing CMS, causing the final rule to go into a stay. So AEP could happen as business as normal, and it will be picked up again next year. But just an absolute train wreck of bad rule after bad rule after bad rule. This is directly impacted to who the president of the United States is. Now, regardless of what your political leanings may be, it's not really outside of the realm of possibility to understand, no matter who you vote for, no matter what you believe in, taking all politics out of it, that Democratic candidates are going to appoint Democratic positions, right? People that have those same type of views and those same type of leanings. Democratic presidents oftentimes, and people that are appointed by Democratic presidents in positions of power, are more for regulation, red tape, and essentially, making it just harder to do business, right? And complicating things unnecessarily oftentimes. Good intentioned, maybe, but maybe not even always that. Maybe it's just designed to, who knows, right, what the agenda is. But maybe even good intention. But hell is paved with the pathway of good intentions, right? Whereas conservative Republican candidates are usually, oftentimes, for deregulation, right? Letting businesses able to do business, right? Opening the floodgates and letting business happen and letting business do business and letting free market determine what's going to be, right? I've always said the truth probably lies somewhere in the middle. We need some type of regulation to avoid fraud and other types of misuses and abuses. But to the point where we have so much regulation that we are suffocated and it makes it almost impossible to do business, people are getting out of our space in record numbers. The growth potential is lower than what would be with less regulation, right? What do I think this means for the future of the Medicare industry? Well, I think there's a very, very good possibility that we get a new CMS commissioner. That has been the trend. Trump goes in 2016. We get a new CMS commissioner. Biden goes in 2021, we get a new CMS commissioner, usually within 6 to 12 months has usually been the trend. So I fully expect that we will see that. I think a lot of government positions will be replaced. And there's a lot of things that could be a domino effect of this. The Trump administration historically has been for tearing down unnecessary red tape and regulation and letting business be business and letting businesses do business. So there's a very good chance that final rule that's been in court, that's been, fought heavily, that's been, almost like this dark cloud over the industry in so many different ways, that very well potentially could just be thrown in the trash completely. Who knows? Maybe the FCC final rule gets repealed and put in its place and put in the trash as well. I fully expect us to see a lot of unnecessary rules that were passed over the last 3 to 4 years get completely pulled back and taken away, because that's what we saw the first time. People can say whatever they want about the first time. And again, this is not meant to be a political video. It's meant to talk about what we've seen over the last 2 administrations in the Medicare space and how it directly impacts us as agents. And what we saw the first time was deregulation on a record level in a way that we probably haven't seen in decades in the insurance and health insurance space. And it caused potential for massive growth, right? Less hoops to jump through means it's easier to conduct business, and the people that are exceptional at conducting that type of business end up growing at an exponential level. We grew on a record margin during the last presidential administration. We've grown great during this administration as well. We find ways around this regulation, but for the average person that's just trying to do a good job for their client and trying to do business and not trying to deal with the BS anymore, I think it's great. I think you can expect disclaimers to either go away completely, or maybe not go away completely, but maybe they're just not as ridiculous, right? Verbal scope of appointment scripts might not be as ridiculous. Just regulation on a record level will be pulled back is what I anticipate. So all in all, is this a good thing for the Medicare industry specifically? Take everything else out of the fray. Take all the political things that you're specifically worried about, or maybe the issues. Take all of that, throw it out the window. We're just talking about the Medicare space for a second. We're just talking about the Medicare agent for a second. We have had an example of 4 years under both of these administrations. We know what we're going to get from a CMS and a Medicare perspective. And I can tell you that it's not good. Not only that, we had the Inflation Reduction Act. Look at all the damage the Inflation Reduction Act has caused, specifically passed by the Biden administration, right? We are seeing, as a domino effect, non-commissionable plans in record numbers. We're seeing plan disruption in record numbers, plan cancellations in record numbers. Not good for anybody involved, not good for the consumer, not good for the insurance company, not good for us as the agents. So I think this is a very positive thing, no matter what your political leanings may be. What this means for us as agents is most likely deregulation based on what we saw the first presidential term. Anyway, guys, I'd love to hear your thoughts on it. What do you think? Do you agree with me? Do you disagree with me? I know this is a very polarizing topic. I debated of even putting out this video in general, but I feel like it was a message that many of you needed to hear and some context from somebody that's been doing this through, this will be the fourth administration that I've been in the business, right? I came in under the Obama administration. I was there for the entire Trump administration. I was there for the entire Biden administration. And now I'm here in the business going into the second Trump administration. And history is the one thing that doesn't lie. Propaganda may lie on both ends, but history and what actually ended up happening typically does not. So based on the current administration, horrible in terms of our CMS leadership, I think this is a very positive side for Medicare agents everywhere and for the future of our industry. But again, guys, comment your thoughts down below. Very polarizing topic. Do you agree with me? Do you disagree with me? I'd love to have a very civil dialogue with you about this. If you found this video helpful, if you are happy to see this, if you feel like this is a good thing for Medicare agents going forward, do me a favor, smash the like button for the YouTube algorithm. It's going to help so many more people like you who are just unaware of the impact of this for Medicare agents see this video easier. Subscribe. We put out weekly videos to help you grow your business. If you're an insurance agent, insurance agency, Medicare specialized insurance agent, we'd love to have you tune in on our future videos. Thanks so much, guys, for watching. We'll see you next time, and here's to your success and your abundance. Thanks, everybody.